This feedback is presented by Sprint. What can you do with 4G? All right, welcome everyone to Feedback. This is the week of July 28th, or as we kind of know it as, post-Comic-Con. Oh. Yeah. I mean, at least San Diego stayed nice and cool.
Yeah.
Other years, it's been like really warm, and then you're around other people, like 150,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But none of us got stabbed in the eye, though, which was nice.
That's an upside.
that is
always good.
And what was the panel for that?
That was
Resident
Seth Green's.
Evil.
Oh, no, it was Resident Evil.
Before Paul.
What?
Right?
Yeah, Seth
Yeah.
Green's thing. It was right before Seth Green's thing. Somebody really wanted to know what Seth Green had to say.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, don't do that. It's really, oh, God. Anyway.
Yeah,
but
now they're going to
outside of
ban
that-
pens.
Outside of that, it was actually, there's some really good things at Comic-Con this year. Obviously, that's pretty much where all of our news is coming from as well,
Yeah.
because there are many things announced. So something that Matt and I definitely caught wind of in terms of Ono's Koi presentation at EVO a couple of weeks ago, there's this funny feeling there might be some Tekken Capcom related. Yes, they are doing. Now, this is weird. It looks like Street Fighter X Tekken. It's Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Because, yes, Capcom, you have to challenge me with something. And we're also getting Tekken Cross Street Fighter. Capcom is doing the one with Street Fighter first, and Namco is doing the one with Tekken first. They're very early on in development. I think the part that's very exciting is this is the next project for Ono-san, who obviously gave us Super Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 4, and other Street Fighters. I'm not the biggest Tekken fan. I'm not the biggest fighting game fan. Or, like, I'm just not as good as a lot of people that are sitting in this room with me. And I guess Street Fighter has always, in my mind, been a very, very strong franchise. And it's neat they're doing it with Tekken, but, the two read much differently to me in terms of, like, kind of their role in the community out there.
I don't really... I mean, they're both they're probably the biggest of their respective dimensions. I mean, 2D is Street Fighter, and 3D at this point is Tekken almost by default.
Yeah.
Because Virtua Fighter seems to have disappeared into the ether, at least on this side of the ocean.
And Dead or Alive just never, yeah.
Dead or Alive's had its own problems. And, Soul Calibur is also Namco. I mean, I guess I was kind of hoping there would be I was kind of hoping to be like more of a Namco cross Capcom thing, so we get some Soul Calibur, or we get some... But
I think Klonoa could have been in it if it was Namco.
Klonoa versus Mega Man.
There you go.
People wanted to see it.
Ooh.
But I mean, there's some potential to this one. I mean, I'm more interested in the in Street Fighter X Tekken because I'm more of the 2D fighter person, and when it comes to 3D fighters, Virtua Fighter is king, and I don't care about Tekken. But I'm excited to see if they put Kuma in the game because then we can finally see Zangief actually wrestle a bear.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that would be...
That's how he trains.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they're now obliged to do that because, yeah, that's one of the most sensible elements of this crossover. Both games also have such different play styles. I'm assuming that the decision to go with two different SKUs of the game, one from Namco, one from Capcom, is that one will favor the play style of one franchise and one will favor the play style of another.
Yeah, well, that has to be the plan there. I mean,
so, I don't know, crossovers, this seems to be the new thing. I mean,
It seems to be, and we've got Capcom at the heart of it all. So,
yeah.
Yeah. How many
Yes.
other games can we cross with?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat's the only one left.
Mortal Kombat's got. I mean,
but they crossed with
this
DC
thing's like
Universe
what?
already. We got
Well,
that game.
it's true.
Yeah, but they might Capcom might actually let them kill the Street Fighter characters. So that'd be interesting.
I mean, is at the core of this, is it the what if?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if Zangief wrestled a bear?
Right.
We
We know what would happen.
Yes.
Everyone
Arms
wants to
would
know
break.
can Devil Jin beat Akuma? Who knows?
It just depends how you play them. So I don't know.
That's
yeah.
also
I just want
it's
Marvel
true.
versus DC. Remember when that comic came out years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Had the crossovers
Well, they've been talking about doing that again.
in the game realm or in the comic?
In
realm?
the comic.
comics realm, but
Amalgamation.
Yeah,
which was
let's just
crazy.
do amalgam.
Yes.
Let's just do the amalgam. The amalgam universe
But
versus Image. Let's go crazy.
But not the amalgam of like the characters coming together to become one,
Right,
where you
yeah. Like
have
Super
like
Spider-Man.
Hyena was Joker and Sabretooth, and then you had Wolverine and Batman together was
Oh, yeah,
for
that's right.
something. Jubilee and Robin were one.
That was the Legends of the Dark Claw. That was a pretty good book. I would have bought a more of that. Frankly, I would play that.
Really?
Yeah. I'd play Legends of the Dark Claw, the game. Let's do it.
Yes.
Arkham Asylum engine.
Make it so.
Yes,
Bring
and
it.
it's all for Matt and whoever. else out there.
The two
Make
other
yourself
people
Two
who
known.
copies
remember
sold.
it.
Two
guy who
copies
wrote it.
sold.
Me and the guy who wrote Dark Claw.
All right. Also, Halo was there. There were some Halo Reach details. Forge World. They've taken what was really one of the most remarkable parts, I thought, of Halo 3, and they know what was good there, and they've really built on it. I mean, I guess it's really, you might as well just call it Forge 2.0. That it really is a nice kind of overdue of Forge. It's like 5 connected maps. Eight players can build, create, and share the maps using all the stuff that's in Forge. Once again, I never had the time, nor the knowledge, nor the intuition to understand what to do with Forge the first time around, but I can't dispute how cool this is.
Right, but it looks like a lot of the stuff that they're implementing into this one is stuff that they learned from people's tricks from the other one, where sort of like making things levitate in the air is now something that you can, basically snap into place. Or making objects like go into other objects is now something that you can do now, instead of like having to trick it out or having to move things around or having to get your camera in a certain spot and then like do like 5 other things to get it done.
So like all of us can now become like Mr. Sark.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's exactly what
Because
happened.
watching him design stuff in Forge for the Sarcathlons, it was like watching someone play high level Halo. Like, I was like, I have no idea how you did that.
Yeah.
Period.
It was a lot of experimentation. That's all it was. You're looking at it and it's like you have to do these 5 things to get this one thing to maybe work 25% of the time.
Now, is it the sense that they also were building their own game using what they changed in Forge? I mean, I never really understood about the original Forge. Like, with Little Big Planet, their tool set that they gave everybody is what they used to make their own game. I wouldn't necessarily think that's true of Forge, in
It's
totality.
pretty close. I think there's probably a little more flexibility in what they had to work with on Halo 3 and ODST, but like it's Bungie even back in the Marathon days was always, and Myth was always pretty open about like these are the tools we basically use to make the game go nuts. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was pretty damn close.
I mean, it's just, I guess it's so generous of them.
Right.
It's like the magician is actually telling you his secrets.
Well, it's sort of like going back to like the PC roots, where you do have like this very strong modding community, and just giving the people, the ability to mod things without having to, get on a PC, to do all these other things, to get the new software, to actually have all the components that you possibly could want in a game itself.
Yeah, which is what I don't think Microsoft is doing, though. You know how tight they hold on to everything. They don't want to give us the complete reins. And like,
Right.
Did you see Bob's version of Halo? Oh my gosh, it's so much better than Halo Reach. Let's just play that instead.
So, I mean, but it's true. Like a lot of companies out there. I mean, when Halo 3 happened, and not even just Force, but the ability to record things.
Yeah.
I thought,
God.
finally, because you must understand, from the television perspective, being able to do that, it was about to open up a world of wonderment to get cool stuff up on the show. And very few companies actually followed suit, and I was a little surprised by that.
Well, it's free advertising for them. And you go onto YouTube and you can find like hundreds, if not thousands of these, hey, check out what I did, or hey, check out this like great sequence, or hey, check this out, where people are just showing off like their best shots and their best things. And it's like, oh, I want to try that. I want to see if I can do that. Oh, that's a great idea. I think it's an incredible marketing tool for them.
And also, like, Just Cause 2 had that, like, instantly upload to YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was, like...
Which was, especially
amazing.
for games where the physics are such a core element and really help show off the game that, it's like, look, I destroyed all these things. Ooh, that's cool. Maybe I will go buy that game.
Exactly.
Okay. Cole, Infamous 2. Everyone was so scandalized when we saw what he looked like on the Game Informer cover. Who here took very negatively to the new Cole 2 look?
I liked it.
That was fine.
Yeah.
And Abby's going to be very upset because she thought the new Cole was hot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it looks like that people really reacted strongly to the changes. Like I say, there is those moments where the gaming community really seems like, octogenarians who think there's something about to happen to their Medicare.
Which I couldn't imagine, like, watching that gameplay clip and being, like, at the end of it, be like, I just didn't like the way he looked.
Yeah.
Like, after all that stuff that they
Everything
showed,
is-
it's unbelievable.
Like, you see
Just
the
3 minutes of the craziest
giant beast
gameplay
at the
ever.
very end, like pulling the guy in.
He needs more hair.
No.
I want
they-
tattoos.
I mean, looks like they're reverting
I like
to.
the
It's
old
not
jacket.
identical to the old Cole, but much, much more similar
Right.
to the old Cole. I mean, I think what's interesting out of this story is, and I really am of two minds. In cases like this, not like, say, what Blizzard just dealt with the Real ID thing they wanted to do, but in terms of like their creativity making their game, when fans get that upset, sort of relenting, that is,
I think maybe it did go a little too far. I mean, there's no way I would buy that character design in Infamous 2 as the same character from the first game, unless you're going to throw in some kind of the electricity powers are healing and de-aging him somehow thing, which is not out of the realm of
It's a
possibility.
wonderful fantasy.
But he looks. I thought in the first game he looked a little too old. I think he looked a little too old and run down. And
He looked like he'd been doing a lot of smack.
Well,
Yeah.
he looked like he'd been through an explosion, which I always thought was the case.
He looked like that before it too. I mean, if he looked normal and then he got all his hair burned off or something, I guess that'd be different. But like, I feel like a de-aging of him is a little.
He did
good.
not look as badass as I thought he
Exactly.
did.
No.
In the first one, he looked like he had an agenda. Now, at the same time, I felt that look when you're playing like the good version of him. Sometimes it just sort of ran contrary a little bit. That it'd be nice if he got that stern, like I'm gonna walk like this mode. If you're playing more evil.
Yeah, his posture was really bad in the first game.
Sadly, nobody complained that
But
his.
then, but it's also from like riding the bike really fast through the city. That's what I.
No one
assume.
complained that his sidekick was still fat and schlubby. I mean, what about that poor guy? He's going to be exactly the same.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him in the new game because
Zeke's got to factor in somehow.
I wanted to get powers.
because Zeke was getting close to becoming. I thought he was going to be the final boss in the original Infamous.
Well, I thought at the
Right.
very end, I figured like, I mean, I guess even if you're evil, you don't kill him.
No.
And I'm like, I wouldn't have really thought twice in that situation.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
it's like, you almost killed millions of people because you're jealous of my zappy thing. Like, that's weird, dude.
Well,
You're
when-
a problem.
When you're going through evil, like Zeke is played off more as a better character. He's like almost like a good guy. Like he's trying to come in and stop you.
Yeah.
But he still wants the power.
Yeah,
I have to figure that by the end of either 2 or, the theoretical 3, Zeke is going to be your primary nemesis.
I think so too. I was just very, very excited for 2. I mean, both in the gameplay, and I think that this is one of the best examples of how much learning can come out of doing something new for their first game, and they're just applying all of that to the second one. So, yay, go Sucker Punch. Okay, this fourth one. This one makes me so happy, and I'm about to talk about an MMO, and I'm going. This makes me so happy. Morgan got to moderate the Old Republic panel. Why? Because that's exactly who you want to have moderating the Old Republic panel. They revealed something that finally kind of, I think, is the second part to what they revealed on G4 for our E3 coverage, which is, yes, you get those ships, and now you get to have space combat. Yay. I mean, I actually didn't know if this was going to be in the game.
I think it was a surprise to everybody.
Oh yeah.
I guess when they made the announcement on the show, I was like, God, I mean, I was under the assumption there wouldn't be space combat. I thought, ooh, giving everyone a spaceship, you're kind of drawing attention to the lack of space combat. No, they intended to have space combat, which I guess they have not said how much, or did they say like the depth of it? But
They didn't really say much about it at all. They were just like, it's in. We'll talk about it more later. Like, that was basically what it was.
Which I mean, now as you said, Galaxies, which a lot of people have very mixed feelings on, it did have space combat, and that was actually one of the stronger elements of the MMO.
That's
so,
probably what I've spent. I didn't play a lot of Galaxies because even I wasn't that much of a fan of Star Wars to go through that. But like, you remember the review we did, and we just set the guy on auto run and made him run to the next city. We left the room. He came back. He died twice, gotten back up, like ran all the way. I mean, it was like I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing in that game half the time.
well, I remember
but
when
the space combat
when the
was
Wookiee
good.
got killed by the butterfly.
Yeah, the Wookiee getting killed by the butterfly was about my breaking point. I don't think that's going to happen in the Old Republic.
I think the other thing that came out of this panel is how big this game is.
Oh.
The world arcs versus the class stories.
Explain this.
Yeah, the way the stories work is each class has its own individual story, of course. So, like, if you pick a Sith Inquisitor, you're going to have the Sith Inquisitor story, etc. But for the faction stuff, every planet has a world arc, which is a faction-related series of quests that you can do with a group and other other Empire or Republic classes, and they just kind of take you over the story that is based on this particular planet. And it was hinted that these stories are long. Like, this is like maybe like a mini KOTOR on each planet kind of thing. And so this is the content that you'll be repeating if you do the same classes in the same faction. But the trick, they used Alderaan as an example, where you've got like the House Organa for the Republic and the House Thule for the Empire. And you go through the motions on this, but eventually these two storylines are going to bring you in conflict in like a PvP situation with the other faction. So these things really range widely and have a large implied variety. And this game needs to come out now. Like,
Why is it taking so long?
Just
Jeez.
killing me.
Yeah. Well,
Because I don't
also,
think there's anything in it.
they were asked how many quests are in the game.
Yeah, and the guy who's in charge of it didn't know.
I mean,
There's too many to
didn't
count. Like they're one of their little thing they used to count how many like things are in the game and how many characters are in the game. Like broke.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work anymore. There's too many things.
And that thing was a person.
I mean, it's interesting.
That thing was a spreadsheet that is now too big to manage.
Yeah, it's called Excel. I mean, it's interesting. As they've been rolling out information about the game, they would always announce something new. Like, and like I said, when they said the players get the ships, or when they were showing it 2 E3s ago, the dialogue and how how BioWare, sorry, how like Mass Effect, with the interactions and stuff. And every time I saw that, I thought, well, okay, if they're doing that, then maybe it's a much smaller MMO. No, we're wrong. I thought, okay, there can't be space combat.
So they said they didn't know how many writers they have, but they think they have 12. And they've been working on the
Who's in
writing's been
charge of
going
this
on for 5
this
years.
they
development?
just lose them.
There's just a sense of ether that's just kind of just hauling all over the BioWare Austin offices. I mean, wow. I mean, I gotta say, like I said, I'm not much of an MMO guy, and great. I say like earlier on, I'm not much of a fighting game guy. MMO
This
guy.
doesn't seem like your run-of-the-mill MMO, though. Like, the more I hear about this, I'm just like, I want to play this as a game. I don't
These
even
sounds-
care that there are other people involved.
These sounds
in this.
like MMO 2.0, and it's
Yeah.
something that we have been yearning for so long. I mean, yes, wow, I completely respect what they're doing and stuff like that, but that's become the boilerplate that all other stuff is coming out, and everyone's like, well, then why aren't they playing our game? And just wow.
Well, there's some elements to Old Republic's design that I just don't think you could get out of WoW unless you ripped it down and built it again.
Yeah,
Like, they're really going for a different angle of attack on the MMO space, and it could work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever said that before in terms of something trying to compete with Warcraft, but I think this could work. It's Star Wars. It's different. It doesn't look the same once you really get into what's happening.
I can't wait to. I'm with you. I want it now. The only what people do have now that they really wanted, StarCraft 2.
Yes.
It is now estimated that there were 800,000 pre-orders for the box copies of the game. And that doesn't include downloads.
That's physical.
But PC gaming's dead, right?
yeah.
If you build it, they will come, folks.
Yeah, it's obviously this is how we're going to be approaching StarCraft 2. Just so people know, actually, we have to review it concurrent with everyone else, which is 800,000 plus. And apparently, it looks like it's causing a little bit of trouble on Battle.net. That if you want to get some assistance, it's now saying, I think, to one of us that 42,000 days.
Yes.
13 hours and 4 minutes.
4 minutes are
Yeah,
killer.
that's fine. It's that last minute.
we're gonna go for the wait.
Yeah, we're
so
good.
for,
I'm sure other people wait.
So for so that you're estimating what? You probably got over 1 million sales there. For those of you still on the fence, we'll be right back to you.
Now, I mean, Kevin, 800,000 pre-orders for a game that last saw itself
12 years ago.
Well, I mean, I guess Brood War was.
Brood War was
yeah,
2 years later.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be popular. It still is almost phenomenal that there's been this much latent interest in the franchise that has not really been played with.
Yeah, for 12 years. Or,
Yeah.
well, I can't remember the year of the Brood War. How long was that? A year after?
99, I think.
I think it was
so a year
99.
after.
Yeah.
And that game sold, Brood War and the first StarCraft together sold 11 million total. So we've already seen almost a tenth of that in the pre-orders alone, which is just unbelievable.
In a day.
But we saw there was such a phenomenal response to the beta. I think that was when I first started to think this is going to be. I mean, you always knew this was going to be huge, and then everyone is like, "Oh yeah, in South Korea," and I'm like, "No, everywhere is going to be."
Everyone
big.
thinks that RTS is, as with PC gaming, dying, or just this sort of niche interest. It's fascinating. Now, the one thing I'm wondering is how many people who have really come to know Blizzard through World of Warcraft, just on the name Blizzard alone, are willing to investigate something like StarCraft 2. I mean, I can't. I mean, it's,
Maybe. I mean, frankly, I trust anything Blizzard throws at me at this
exactly.
point.
I mean, give me that Viking game again as an MMO. I would probably check it out.
Well, I wonder how many people got drawn to it after WoW. They were like, "Oh, I like this Blizzard. Let's see what they've.
Yeah,
let's see what else they
exactly.
would." And then they've had however many years to play with it.
Yeah, I love the look on your face. Just someone going, "I like this." Blizzard."
I like the cut of their jib.
What is this Blizzard thing?
These are good
Shout.
people. Get in my office now.
You can play the Vikings game
Yeah,
in
Lost
the
Vikings.
cantina
Yeah.
on the
It's-
ship,
it's actually
which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed that it wasn't actually Lost Vikings.
Right, it's
Like
like
a game based on it.
It's a shooter.
arcade version of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
But I love that they got the wing commander between mission stuff. Like it's nice to see that again, even if it's not Wing Commander.
Yeah.
It's sort of LucasArtsy too. You're walking like, I'm gonna go talk to the captain while he's flying the ship and see what's going on.
The production value is insane.
Yeah.
Like, and really, people need to, I know the multiplayer is kind of the thing that shines in RTSs for a lot of people, but like, really, this campaign is beyond anything anyone has ever done in an RTS. It is a revolution in how you present single player content in this genre, and probably a few other genres. But like, it's so like well thought out and well presented and deep, and every mission is a different objective. It's not just a collection of skirmish maps. Like, cannot recommend the campaign on this game enough.
And that was the thing too.
Just off of what I played in the preview events we've been to.
Like you're saying, like you're not an MMO guy. Like I'm not an RTS guy. I certainly had to play a lot. But one of the things was always story. I always found it so hard to connect with any of my little guys that were on the screen, and I never got drawn into
this being your narrative is a little window where you're just like, go get some tiger.
Yeah, it's always bad. So
Blizzard is as always in this game and as all their other games. Blizzard is very interested in you having a good time.
Yes. And that's why it takes them forever to make a game. But then in the end, they spend $100 million, which once again, not that remarkable because they take their time.
And again, if StarCraft 2, which is probably my least interest, I have the least interest probably of any Blizzard franchise in StarCraft 2. If StarCraft 2 is this to me, Diablo 3 is going to break my mind.
And plus, this is only StarCraft 2.
One,
which is crazy.
Exactly. Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That's insane.
800,000 on the first third of StarCraft 2.
Yeah. And
Cha-ching.
I love. I asked one of the developers about like, okay, now for 2, you're gonna do a whole new huge campaign and like new multiplayer. And they're like, and then the same thing again for the third one. And I'm like, is that scary at all? And he's just like, I am absolutely mortified of the next few years. They're like, we don't know.
I don't want to go too much into this so we can move on. But look what they're doing with StarCraft 2. And think about what Activision's supposed to be getting out of Bungie. And it just occurred to me this morning that there's actually more interrelation here. We keep looking at the World of Warcraft model, but there's actually something interesting happening with the StarCraft 2 model that may actually be more the inspiration and why Activision was so comfortable with Bungie's evil plan. But we'll find that out years from now, so I don't want to get myself too excited. As I assume everyone who's been on the website or on the station knows, Sprint's been doing this massive sponsorship. They have their 4G. Our station is named G4. That strikes me as one of the greatest serendipities in all of branding. Now, they have this one phone, the HTC Evo 4G. This is the first 4G phone in the U.S. Now, this is what's so interesting in it. It has Sprint Overdrive, which takes a wireless data connection and uses to establish a local Wi-Fi hotspot. It's just right there in the phone. You don't need anything else. And so you can connect up to 5 Wi-Fi devices to it. What this suddenly presents is something I had never considered possible, which is you can kind of go to places where there aren't like plugs in the wall and actually start gaming together. Having never considered this as a possibility, I have now had to consider, okay, what would I do with this? And Matt, you and I were talking about, our first thought is this is exactly what we need to be doing with this technology.
Yeah, I think we need to. I want to take 4. Go get Left 4 Dead, 4 people, and we're gonna go play Left 4 Dead in a pitch black parking garage.
Yeah, I mean,
just for the ambiance.
I mean,
or maybe like a rain swept alley, or just get out there somewhere where you just want to think that something could come around the corner.
I like the garage, but it's a really big garage where I'm not that close to you.
Yes,
I'm close enough.
You can hear it.
Yeah, just be able to get that.
And then we let enough people know that that we're doing that they could come mess with us.
Yeah, there's, I guess the other ones, someone had mentioned this. Okay, you're waiting in line at midnight for StarCraft 2. You just start playing StarCraft with other people. Mm-hmm. Right. Like there really is, I'm almost thinking like maybe one-on-one multiplayer, but, co-op. Like my biggest issue has always been like, okay, I have time, I'm at home, but then I need all my other friends to also have that same window open. And as I'm getting older, I have to pee more, and at other times, like I get hungry. My wife has made dinner. I can't use I'm playing a game right now, not to eat with her. And so, I mean, this is kind of neat. Where it's like, hey, let's all get together and then it doesn't become this arduous process of trying to hook everything up.
Right.
And wherever you go, it doesn't have to you don't always have to hang at the friends with the really cool router.
Yeah, stuff for like the PSP and the DS, like
Especially
Which I
those,
think
yeah.
those would be the best.
those are the best because even like a car ride. I mean, where are you going to find a signal in a car ride? You have that sort of like sitting around with you.
Here's a good solution to your Peace Walker co-op issue.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And you can actually
wow, that's really true.
Or like, I mean, and now like with like StarCraft 2 has the BattleNet capability where like they have the cloud saves where anywhere you log in, you can
You're
get
gonna
your
get
single player
stuff
save.
back.
Like again,
Yeah, take your laptop with you.
Everything
You
waiting
got
that's
down
that
going to
in your
become
pocket.
more and more prevalent. It's going to be again. We live in the
Gaming
future.
on the go.
I mean, I have to be honest. Like, this, like I said, this was not technology I thought was. It's just I hadn't thought about it. But yeah, I mean, there clearly is something for it. So I guess thank you for the tech. Hey, let's move on to our game. There's actually games of the week. Past couple has it been the past 2 weeks or the past 3 weeks?
I think three. Deathspank
3
was
weeks.
3
Yeah.
weeks back.
3
So
weeks back.
Deathspank and Limbo have come out, proving once again that whatever this is that keeps on happening every summer with these downloadable games, it really is helping get us through the summer. I want to start with Deathspank. Rob,
Sure.
You did the review.
Yes.
This is a wonderful throwback, both in terms of tone and in terms of gameplay.
Right. It's sort of a dungeon crawler, but it has like a sense of humor. It understands like it's what it's doing. You're collecting loot. You're collecting poo. You're getting armor. I mean, it's Ron Gilbert.
Yeah, of Monkey Island
Of Monkey
fame.
Island, Maniac Mansion fame. Koza, I mean, everything in there just sort of has this great sense of humor, this sort of quirkiness about them. People asking you to go on these bizarre quests, like this tree that it keeps on asking you for paraphernalia, as
And
you would say, like a black light.
Yeah, what's the black light? It wants to keep on trucking
Keep on
poster.
trucking.
It's like it's this magical tree that looks like it's a cartoonish version of something taken from a Yes album cover that suddenly wants things very pertinent to that time period.
But it's also like a good game.
That's the thing.
Which is the best part about it, because it does have sort of a level of depth to it where it is more than just hacking and slashing. As you're going through, you do level up, you do like collect things. It is easy enough for someone who's never played the game before or played a game like that before to sort of like get into it. But there's also like a level of depth to it, like with the attacking. If you combo your attacks, you get higher attacks. Stuff with getting the right tools for the right job, sort of deal.
And it's got it's got the loot, so you can it's got all those things that you love about Diablo, and it's funny. I guess the thing is, it has been so long since I played a game like this because they haven't been made available. That the minute I picked it up, I realized how much I kind of missed this simple gameplay. That's just more or less let's explore, open up a new area over there, see what it looks like, and bash a bunch of things on the head. It's
great, and you have like so many different enemies as well as you're going through the game. It never feels like, well, I got to go, kick that chicken, or I never have to go, hit the unicorn again, or
there's
rat.
no rat.
No.
Or rat equivalent. Well, there are chickens.
There are chickens.
There are angry chickens, but just by the mere fact that they are angry chickens, it's better than a rat. Right. Now, how much have you guys played of it?
I just played the demo.
You played the
And
demo?
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I bought it and downloaded it, and then I started Limbo, and that was the end of it.
Yes, which we're going to be getting to in 1 second now. I think you and I saw exactly the same problem. Is you got this quirky quest structure. That, despite the fact that it's funny,
Right.
You're so used to the type of game that it is that when it violated some of those conventions, I didn't realize what it was doing.
Right. Where you sometimes they'll give you a quest and you'll be sent somewhere. Like in a normal sort of quest situation, you're given quests that sort of go along with your level. So you're like level 15 and get around level 15 quests. But every so often you'll get a quest where you're sent into a world where you cannot get through it.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm just going to have to wait, come back until you're stronger, and then get through it that way. There were a couple of quests as well where you were sent off to do one thing, and you clear out an area, and they send you back to the same area where it's already been cleared out. And so you're basically just picking up, stuff you find on the ground.
Yeah, the one other thing that was funny is that when they send you to where sometimes the quest is going to send you to what's appropriate for your level, but I actually had to walk through very high level enemies to get there.
You're talking about unicorns.
Yeah,
Stay on the road.
But game logic has always said to me that you
should be
won't find low level enemies behind high level enemies, and it's one of those where I suddenly discovered, and then I went and killed myself. Fighting stuff that I should have waited to fight in the game. Then my levels went up too high, so when I finally accessed that area, I was so overpowered. It was just kind of I looked at everyone, they died.
It was sort of like they were trying to make the best use of the areas that they had by putting in like different things instead of just repopulating with something a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean but on the whole, like the writing is really funny.
The writing's really good. My only complaint is that the story itself just isn't as strong. The whole concept of you are looking for the artifact called the artifact. Once you find it, it gets taken away from you, but then the main villain also kidnaps orphans in order to bring you to him. And it's like, well, why did you need to kidnap the orphans to bring me to you when you had the artifact?
Don't get us wrong. The orphans
are
part
funny.
are really funny. The artifact is really funny, but the two just don't seem to have the sense of unity.
I could completely be like, oh, the orphans have been kidnapped. We got to go find the orphans. Or he has the artifact. We need to go get the artifact.
I get the impression that it's just because evil people kidnap orphans.
But like his whole explanation was, I need to bring you to me. And it was like, well, I was coming to see you anywhere.
That's just an excuse because he's just compelled to kidnap orphans.
I was coming to see you. I was on my way.
To give an example of how funny this game can be, when you have to go get the orphans, everyone seems to just have this distaste for orphans in the game, like all the characters. You're given a bag to put the orphans in.
A sack.
And when you read, and they tell you need to put holes in it, and he goes, well, the bag of the orphans. You go, well, you decide. But then when you read the description in your inventory of the bag, it says, a bag designed to hold orphans and their empty dreams.
Nice.
Everything has that. The names of the weapons, Fire Axe 2, Fire Harder.
Yeah, it's really like you have to pay attention to everything, and you're rewarded. And you definitely want to do every single quest in the game.
Email from orphan viewers in 3, 2.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Great beginning. I really hope to see that this will be like a series that comes around like once a year. People who actually beat the game has like a small taste of like what's coming in like afterwards, like what the next one's going to sort of look like, and I'm very excited to see the next one if that's the direction they're going for.
Yes, dear EA, I'm more than happy to play another one of these games. Let's talk about the other downloadable game that is absolutely amazing, Limbo. Jake, you reviewed it. You gave it a 5 out of 5. Here's a tough thing: you describe it, and you're not giving it its due, but you did the review, so give it a shot.
It's one of those that you try to explain, and it really just, you have to see it and play it and understand. And a lot of, I think, the criticism of people hearing that it's 4 hours long, or they kind of focus on the length, that all goes out of the door as soon as you play it, because you could care less. It's absolutely, and like when I first kind of saw the game, I kind of knew about it. I was like intrigued by it, but I didn't really understand what it was, how it was going to play or anything. But once you get inside of it, it's haunting. It's terrifying.
Magical.
You don't want to leave.
Also, the game design itself is so audacious. Just the mere decision to go with and proper black and white, not like Mad World black and white. This is like the way I described it. It's like a German expressionist film, and it's a bad print.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like turn of the
quiet.
century.
Yeah.
Oh, you got
very
the
quiet.
ambient noise in the game is unbelievable, especially when you kind of hear things come out of nowhere. It's terrifying.
Well, I think the spider is one of the scariest things
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen in a game. I don't even know why.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
Like right when it uncurls, like the sound effect is.
Okay, so I mean, it's boy wakes up, black and white world, very malevolent world, and let's just say that there is an option to turn off violence in the game, and I was like, what happened in black and white game?
You're
A
missing the
little
point.
And then the thing is that you suddenly realize how malevolent the world is. And it's playing on your idea that this should not be happening to a character that looks sort of as young and docile.
Right.
And it's not. There's nothing that feels gratuitous about it. It really does convey that sense of menace. I think the other is the game refuses to explain itself in any overt way. It's this process of discovery, and as you said, it's like Shadow of Colossus.
It's this is probably my favorite game of the year at this point. It's just it just has that weird, like, just palpable, like this was made in a weird artistic space by whoever made it, and it does not compromise what it's trying to be. It has a lot of elements of out of this world, I would say, in the sense of you're going to die a lot, you got to die to figure out what you're doing, but it's more passive in the sense that you don't have a weapon. And it's the manipulation of the puzzles is fascinating. I guess there's been a lot of comparisons to Braid, but I find it a little more interesting than Braid, just in the sense of how singular the look is and how it's a more risky game than Braid, I think, because it does not telegraph its gimmick or its, if you even want to say it has a gimmick, it does not telegraph its hook until you really get your hands on it.
Well, and also it's right there in the control menu. It comes up, jump, grab.
That's it.
That's all you need to know.
That's it. And the thing is, the puzzle structure. I mean, these are usually those types of games where it's like, oh, wow, I have to double. I have to think what the developer was thinking. That was actually a problem I had with Death Bank for some of the puzzle elements of it. This isn't it. It's there on screen. Yeah. How to do it is there on screen. And I think the only time the puzzles, I'm frustrated beyond the normal sort of head scratching is when you have to do some platforming elements with such precision timing and the controls don't exactly allow you to do that. There are a couple times where I was doing the right thing and it was so hard I thought, well, that can't be the right thing that I'm doing in the game.
But I love the game because like the story itself is just so like you're piecing it together. Like you're telling like this is a game. Like, this is the reason why people made games.
Yeah.
Like, this is the story people made games because you are experiencing this story unlike any other medium around.
Yeah, much like Shadow of the Colossus. You could not translate this to another medium and not lose something.
And it's because it doesn't follow, okay, the way that games kind of want to be movies, and it's like, okay, we're going to set things up, we're going to have people talking. Yeah. This just says, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, but I'm going to be so compelling, I had no choice but to play it to find out because it was just like, what? Why?
And you find yourself so emoting with that little boy, even though there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
There's no words on screen.
Right.
But you care about this little strange kid. It's very weird.
And it's the kid is a silhouette. I mean, they've gone to great lengths to do. Really, isn't much even with the eyes, which are the only thing that stand out from the silhouette. I mean, they're not doing animation.
He has no reaction.
No
to
one
anything.
is trying to manipulate your emotions in this game, and yet I'm caring very deeply about what the hell is going on.
And it's weird how the it's a very because it relies so much on ambient sound. The like just when you're running through the world and you hear those footsteps, like it even though it's such an abstraction. Visually, it feels really real.
Yeah, it's like I think as you can tell by our enthusiasm here, and I would have to say this is I only have two other games I think are close to this, and they tend to be 50-hour games, so that's how impressive Limbo is. It should be downloaded.
And again, for $15,
you should play.
Yeah.
I paid 15 for much worse games.
It does suffer from one thing I hate, which is water equals instant death, which I hate in game design. I don't know why this little kid couldn't swim.
Well, but I've always wondered if it's water.
Well, maybe it's acid or...
Yeah, I mean, this world is so malevolent that...
That's true. It's not a friendly place by any means.
When I get to our question of the week, it's an interesting one. It's from Lil Wooden Boy, which I would like to think is Pinocchio. Pinocchio's writing us from wherever he lives. I don't know where that is. What defines the terms casual and hardcore gamers? Is it purchases, difficulty setting, devoted time, achievements, trophies, age, and attitude, or something else? Let's talk about that. He has a couple other parts of his question. I've always seen it actually as either hours spent playing or number of games purchased. That like it's it's either taking your time or your money, and that's got to be the
some of it are also type of game purchased. I mean, if you're playing a lot of Halo, you might play 100 hours of Halo, but someone who plays 30 hours of Blaze Blue might be more hardcore in some ways than that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you have a hardcore gamer that's only playing one game. It doesn't have to necessarily mean that you play a bunch of other games.
The other problem is like the words don't mean anything.
No,
that's essentially what it is.
It's like,
I mean, it's one of those. Oh, I'm blanking on his name, but whoever the Supreme Court justice was in the pornography case, I know it when I see it. I know it when I see it. Irony being, of course, that he actually couldn't see much of anything as he had pretty bad eyes, and he was trying to determine if deep throat.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
As I say, gamers can smell other gamers. Yeah, we
have a
literally.
And if you go to Gamescom in Cologne, that is more true than you want to
more
believe.
ironically named cities in the
So, okay. So what Little Wooden Boy is saying is, if there are these two extremes, which is casual and hardcore, how come the video game media doesn't seem rushed to define a middle-of-the-road video game player who plays hardcore titles at a casual pace, especially considering the growing older demographic that games often... Okay, the sentence structure got confused there.
Nope, syntax.
But that is interesting, because we here don't even come up with the term moderate gamer. Which
That's
is
true.
someone who's, they don't play that many games, but they're aware of games, and maybe they're not the ones that are writing in to me telling me they want to kill me. I mean, it's.
Well, they might be, but
They could be.
I mean,
more
is
of a
it
psychotic type.
We only hang out obviously with we are all hardcore gamers, and that casual thing is almost like this strange, mysterious other that's out there. That but it's funny because I know many people that I would term a moderate gamer. They're the ones that come up to me at a restaurant or a bar or something, and they're like, "Hey, Adam, I want to get a new game. What game should I get?" Whereas that hardcore gamer has made that decision.
Yeah,
Right.
you know.
They don't go to other people on that.
Well, I remember when Burnout Paradise came out, that was something I looked at as moderate because there was a period where I would just come home from work and all I would do is put that in and mindlessly race around and doing dorky stuff for an hour and a half. Then I wouldn't play the rest of the night. And that lasted longer than I normally would have liked. Like now I'm playing games all the time, but for a long time I'm like, well, this game, and people were like, why do you like it so much? I'm like, it just helps me relax and chill out.
Right.
I'm not thinking about it.
I think
Yeah.
the other thing too now is there's so many ways to play games. So even if you don't consider yourself a gamer, I'm sure you have at least one game on your phone or something.
Yeah.
So you're playing games all the time.
Okay.
So
Is gamer a pejorative for non-gamers? I can't
don't know.
decide.
I don't know. I have very little contact.
exactly.
Are those
I've
people out
always
there?
wondered if
It reminds me of the Bill Hicks bit where he's in the diner and the people see him reading a book and they go, oh, looks like we got ourselves a reader. What?
I mean, if gamers there was a period of time where gamer did sound somewhat pejorative, and that when you threw hardcore in front of it, it's kind of like you said, no, but I take it seriously. I'm not wasting my time. I'm hardcore about it, and that maybe and that's where I think when we say casual gamer, it's not so much we think there's something wrong with them, but there is something intended to be somewhat dismissive that like they're there for reasons that we don't understand and we couldn't communicate with one another. So I don't even know who a casual gamer is.
It's definitely not us.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dividing term.
Maybe it's the tweeners that are playing the Just Dance. I don't know because I don't even know. That's still not a game in the same way of the games that we always talk about.
Right.
Well, that's the thing too, is because what constitutes a game has changed so
Yeah.
much.
Well, I just don't think it matters anymore. And again, in 15, 20 years, I think it's going to be like asking someone if you watch movies.
Yeah. Exactly.
It just doesn't
you can
mean
still be a
anything
movie
anymore.
fan, but it's like that's just someone who really,
Or you're a hardcore
I'm a
movie
hardcore-
fan
yeah.
or a casual
I'm a
movie fan.
movier.
Man, I watch movies so hardcore. It doesn't.
I'm just
I
a
keep my
casual
eyes
movie.
open like in the Clockwork Orange.
I think that the trick is probably there's going to be a different barrier there because it takes skill to be good at games on a hardcore level, and it doesn't really take skill to be a good movie watcher.
Exactly.
I guess. I mean,
As there's
I'm
years
sure there's
ago it
movie
died.
watchers that would disagree with that, but I'm not talking criticism. I'm just talking about like,
Right.
Yeah,
you
or-
didn't watch Independence Day any better than I did.
But,
you know?
it's kind of like, and I'll attribute this to American McGee because I heard him say this at DICE years and years ago. Books don't change languages, as they get to the end, and movies don't become harder to see. They can become harder to understand, but that's the thing. I mean, but anybody can get to the end of the movie if they sit there with their eyes open.
Yeah,
Right. It's and that is what's completely different about video games, and I think continues to be that sticking point, and maybe about their sense of the collective acceptance of it. And I'm not saying that they need to take away the difficulty curve. It's just
Right.
But
it's
they
an
have
interesting-
become more experiences than skill tests.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
and that might be what we now term casual. Is like I like those types of games.
As opposed to something like Limbo, which I think does test your skills.
Which I also
Yeah.
think is a response kind of to the
Mm-hmm.
question he's asking. Why are these not created? Well, here you go. It's a great DLC title that's not going to take you 60 hours to play, but you're going to be super engaged for the 5 to 10
Plus, I
hours you
think
do
that's
play.
the thing too, is that barrier to entry a lot is the controls.
Yeah.
So
Right.
people are so
Yeah.
afraid. That's why it's so genius that it's.
And
just
I don't think
yeah.
always the difficulty, because what I found, and you see this a lot with young kids, if that's the one game you have, you will
You're gonna-
find your
you will
way
find
through
your
the
way
game.
through it,
It's
yeah.
just like, those puzzles at times I'm like, God, this seems like too hard. And it's probably because like I got 2 or 3 other options of what I can play right now.
Well, and also like one of the kind of the guidelines of writing for an audience is like you want the audiences like to feel smart. And like one of the draws of Braid and Limbo is that when I figure out some of those puzzles, I feel real smart.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's like when you laugh at a New Yorker cartoon. Like, I'm as clever as that man over there. Or Once Upon a Time getting a Dennis Miller reference, which, given where his career's gone, I'm not going to.
He's the only reason I know who William of Orange is.
Yeah, it's Thank you so much, Kevin Kelly, Jake Gaskill, Matt Kyle, and Rob Manuel for joining us today. As you may have noticed, Abby is gone. This has been a little bit more on the XY chromosome. She is off doing something very fun. She will be back, as will many of us, talking about games because things continue to happen. Hello there. I'm Adam Sessler, host of X-Play, editor-in-chief at G4TV.com. I talk a lot about video games, and sometimes a camera is in front of me when I'm doing that. We call that Sessler's Soapbox. It takes about 2 minutes of your time, but trust me, you will hear invective and joy and probably a lot of rude things like you've never heard before in the context of video games. I do it for you, so you should check it out. It's up every Tuesday on G4TV.com.